Hi, everyone. My name is Teresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober because of a loving God. If you knew, despite the fact that I'm uncomfortable and this is awkward, I do it because my life depends on it. I have a short period of time to give you a Reader's Digest of what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. And I hope you listen to similarities and not the differences. We were talking about that in our big book study about fraud. The appeal never suffices. That was funny. We have big book study on Sunday mornings. You can join us. It's on Zoom. And Ronnie and I were talking about we were gonna miss it. Well, we didn't, huh? And we in that we in that banquet. It turns out I didn't know you were on there, and I was on there. We were like we like on the sidebar, just all up in that meeting. Uh, but they did. We talked about fraud. The appeal never suffices, and the only thing that is sufficient is a message of depth and weight. And I find that to be the language of the heart and the music that I have found in these rooms that nobody else has been able to capture my attention the way you've captured mine. There's a transformation that takes place. I know it's taking place for me. My sobriety date is March 29, 1990. But for the grace of God, sponsorship, fellowship, 12 steps. Takes a village. I've had the honor and the privilege of being with you all for the last 34 years. I've been raised in these rooms. I'm now sober longer than I was drinking. This has become a working part of my mind and my body. This is the new norm. But I don't ever want to forget what I suffer from. May be in remission, boy, but it can come back so fast. I met a few folks out there, and I want to welcome back our retreads and our relapsers. I want to thank you for scouting for us. That's what we call you, our scouts. Coming back and letting us know what don't work. And I take notes. I learn from your experience. I think that's important. There's a reason why you're back, because some people don't make it back. But you come back to carry that message. And we ain't missing out on nothing. I joke, but I'm quite serious. I tell some new folks I watch the news only to see if one day science has accomplished it. I think I'm not the only one who says that. You might get scared. I don't care. I'll still be listening. I'll be like, there's a pill? What's happening? What's going on out there? I asked some folks recently that were new. A couple of them, right? We were hanging out, Carla, and I was like, what's going on? I'm like, tell me. Anything new? They're like, nope, it sounds really bad, y'all. I think I'll stay. Coming out my chest. I'm born addicted. Wasn't wanted. Product of rape. Left in the hospital. My dad and my grandma bring me home. They try to get my mother to look at me and touch me. They leave me alone with her. She discovers she's alone with me. Begins to smother me with a pillow to kill me once and for all. I still wonder, why did she recall hearing them say that if you give her alcohol, she'll stop crying? The irony of that. And my mother's objective was the hope that I would die from alcohol poisoning. But she didn't anticipate, nor was she aware of this disease called alcoholism or addiction, that I suffered from an abnormality. We talked about that this morning. This thing called the allergy of the body. You see, it's abnormal to give an infant, not only in the womb and they come out addicted, but it's abnormal to give them alcohol in the bottle and nothing else and they survive. That's abnormal. I was supposed to die. But instead of me dying, my body welcomed it, accepted it, and demanded more of it. So I drank my entire life. From the moment of conception, So I came in this world loaded. You see, I feel bad for some of you who suffered so many years until you found alcohol and drugs. I've heard your stories. Sounds very painful. I am not jealous. The moment I came into this planet called Earth, I was not here. I was feeling nice. I was loaded. If you look at pictures of me and my walker and carriage and birthdays, my eyes are glassy, I'm smiling, ooh, feeling good. And because I was unwanted and unnecessary and insignificant, it was as though they sent out a memo and they said, you can do whatever you want to do with her. You let out all of your pedophileness, your deviances, your rage and frustration on her because she doesn't matter. And as a matter of fact, we're waiting for her to die. And she has a resilience that we don't understand. And so for whatever reason, everybody took out all their frustrations and their deviances and their pedophileness on me. Because you see, I'm not important. I am unnecessary and insignificant. And I don't matter. Thank God for alcohol. I don't think I would have survived the first 24 years of my life without it. So in those years, I experienced physical abuse, verbal abuse, and sexual abuse. And I wasn't present for any of those situations. I always had a smile on my face. You know, this has been coming up a lot for me ever since, in particular, since my mother died recently. Somehow I wanted to mirror this thing about the alcoholic. You know, my brother always described the alcoholics as making catastrophic decisions with reckless disregard for other people. And I wanted to be like a badass, like I hear a lot of folks also share in the rooms. And I don't have a lot of memory of the first 24 years of my life because it's a blackout. And so a lot of my story is other people's stories. And they tend to, whatever little memory pops up, then other people fill in the blanks. Including when I go to grammar school reunion or high school reunions, they've become familiar that I don't have a memory. And many of them come with pictures and they tell me stories about me. Thank you. And people look for me on Facebook. And whenever they do, I say, can you tell me stories about me? How was I? Who was I? And it seems to be the consensus that I was kind, spiritual, always laughing, very other-centered, mindful, very giving. I made no waves. As a matter of fact, their parents remember me more than anybody else in the school. I have teachers that look for me. I was highly intelligent, well-disciplined and behaved, and very worldly. There's a judge who said I had a genius IQ at the age of 14. And so I was like, you know what? I wasn't a bad girl. You see, I grew up with half of my family being mafia, and the other half are priests, politicians, and priests. Pimps, dealers, hustlers, gangsters. We're all part of the community, and this is the way we live. They're all the same. And I don't have to be a badass if you know who I am and the family that I come from. You follow me? Look at me funny. You won't have a zip code. I don't need to be nasty about it. You know what I'm saying? There was a sense of, not arrogance, but they said I always walk with purpose and, you know what I mean? Like solid and strong. That was all alcohol. I wasn't present for that either. And so with all the stories that I've heard, I'm the alcoholic who's really also the abusee. There are these voices in here because I work with a lot of women. There are those of us also are not just like a bull in a china cabinet. You see, I learned how to
Dot the I's and cross the T's and don't make no waves. See, don't make too much noise. They'll notice you here. Alcohol allowed me to see no evil, speak no evil. You know what I mean? Hear no evil. I was a human doing, not a human being. I was a walking shadow, man. Alcohol allowed me to put on different masks and images and faces. And more importantly, to hide. Because the moment you see me, you're going to hurt me. I had no voice. I said nothing. I never spoke up. Talk about we can't differentiate the true from the false. I came from a family in a world that whatever I saw wasn't true. Took me a long time, even till now, to even differentiate the truth. Believe it or not, but I was telling somebody, it wasn't until my critical thinking class recently that I was like, oh my goodness, for the first time I actually can have an argument about something. I mean, most people, I think Derek was saying, oh, I'm a person who always has a voice. I seem to come across that way. You know what I'm saying? Man, this has been work in progress. Man, I was raised, boy, by a very dysfunctional family, and my mother always told me, you don't see what you see, you don't hear what you hear. And alcohol told me none of that mattered. It said, I'll take care of you. I'm your friend. I'm your companion. I'm your therapist. I'm your nurse. I'm your road dog. I'm your buddy. I got you. You ain't got to worry about none of these people, about nothing. It's you and me against the world. And I sipped my drinks, folks. I didn't chug a lug. I didn't dance butt naked on tables. That was my mother. Thank God for good sponsorship. When I first got here, remember I told my sponsor, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. This thing, one's too many and 1,000's not enough. I think the most I ever drank was a peppermint snipes at a prom night. And I got sick and threw up. Never did that again. And she took me to downtown Skid Row to introduce me to myself. Because you see, I've been drinking alcohol my entire life. It runs through my bloodstream. I didn't learn about the 4 food groups until I got to this program. To this day, I could still live on potato chips and chocolate. You build a certain tolerance when it's in your entire blood. That's why the people that you see sleeping on cardboard boxes only little, no, they need a little pint. I just need a little sip, and I'm straight. Thank God for good sponsorship. You probably wouldn't see me here. I didn't see any consequences of my drinking. This is the way of life. You talk about incomprehensible demoralization. That's how I lived. Cross an invisible line. What line? As I got older, I began to live like Michelle Pfeiffer on Scarface. This is a world I come from. I just made sure that my outsides look good and immaculate at all times. All those physically abusive relationships, talk about unhealthy. I used to say to them, you can beat me as much as you want, but please do me a favor and don't hit me in the face. I can't cover up my face. I need to keep that intact. I trip out on the fact that I never questioned anything about that life at all. I never said this shouldn't be this way. It needs to be different. Alcohol told me I was good. All was well. And my family progressed. You talk about the disease of progression. You know, doing marijuana and sniffing cocaine. It was like that was introduced to me in my house, not in the streets. Now I graduated. Here, smoke this. Maybe that'll take you out. Here, sniff this. I mean, literally, I have family members, particularly my mother, on a mission. Why won't you die? I spent so many years like that, like people on a mission to just take me out. I don't need to be my own assassin. It wasn't until later years that I attempted to do it myself. and the frustration that others would have. Men that I would be with that were like big and like football players just beating on me like a punching bag and be like, why won't you pass out and die? Do I have resilience? Do I have determination? Alcohol kept me numb. Flatline, no heartbeat. So what happened to me? How they ended up with y'all? You know, we used to put the drugs on the street. I don't go to the street to get them. We put them out there. Do kilos. I don't do up my own supply. I remember I went to Al-Anon years ago, raised my hand, and I said, my boyfriend is drinking all my liquor, smoking all my weed, and sniffing all my cocaine. He got a problem. He's out of control. Around the age of 24, I came home because I started switching after a while. I became the abuser. It was kind of like I learned the rules of the game. So I'm going to pimp you, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to beat you before you decide to beat me. This idea I came with how I guess alcohol told me how I can now protect myself and create a thicker shield. And this particular man was tired of all that, and I came home one day and he took everything I owned. And he left me with a brass bed that my brother gave me from Japan. But he took the mattress. And I came home and I put a blanket and a pillow in the middle of that. I said, he ain't done nothing to me. And I went upstairs to these homeboys I used to sell to them. And I threw an 8-ball on the table and I told them to cook it up. And had one guy gone on his knees and he begged me not to do it. And I told him, you mind your business. Now, before that, I helped a friend of mine who had a crack baby get clean. I used to pick up my cousins in limousines with fur coats and pearls from the dope house and bring them home and clean them up and give them something to eat. Never say never. I used to sell all that to them crackheads. Come back, I'll hook you up. What possessed me to do that, I don't know. But that was the day I was truly introduced to my disease. Because see, before that, I lived flatline. I just did a little bit of Hennessy, couple of puffs, couple of sniffs. No heartbeat. After they cooked that up, I took a puff. It was as though I had been resuscitated from the coma I had been in for 24 years. That is such a short-lived high. And all of a sudden, I was rocketed into someplace, and I crashed down here on Earth, and I was like, what? What is happening? Who are you? Where am I? That was crazy, yo. What is going on? What? No. No. And I say it introduced me to my disease because then I could see that one's too many and 1,000's not enough. You know what I mean? I went on a mission. I went on a mission to no longer have a heartbeat. Now, you know it's scary when you got all the dope and you go on to the addicts and they throwing you out of their house. They were like, you tripping. You gonna get us killed. You know what I mean? They were like, you, what? I had this idea that if I kept smoking nonstop, I wouldn't come down. They were like, you're gonna die in our living room. I was telling somebody outside, I was very self-conscious too, right? Because remember, I'm always about my outside. I was walking around with Lysol cans, and every time I was like, shh, trying to like, they were like, who invited her? What is she doing here? My Louis Vuitton luggage. Now I have to, I guess, constantly everywhere I go, in particular, Cocaine Anonymous, is make amends, because now I started just putting baking soda on the streets. I'm sorry. I swear I was trying to cut it, but it just didn't work. I needed it. Whew, I know many of y'all smoked for years. I did that for 6 months. Hit my bottom so fast, I'm selling ficus trees at 3 o'clock in the morning. What is that all about? All of my jewelry, I'm pawning, pretending I'm going to come and get it back. You know I ain't getting it back. Somebody was reminding me how all of a sudden I stopped paying for lights, stopped paying rent. Who needs lights? I don't need no lights. All these brilliant ideas when you hang out with other addicts. Yeah, we don't need no lights. We got candles, yo. You know what I mean? Just stupid shit. Now I'm hanging out with people where 1 minute we sitting at a table and the next thing you know they butt naked going in a closet. I don't know what's happening, man. My whole world just did a flip on me. You know what I mean? I'm like, what is going on? I want the good old days back. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get flatlined again. At this time, I owed 2 kilos, and that's my uncle. I remember my other uncle came to my house. He said, you know you're in trouble when the good guys and the bad guys are looking for you. What you doing? I told him to mind his business. So I have a contract out for my life. And I can't get flatlined. Now I'm pregnant on my 4th child. And this baby ain't falling out in the toilets on the floor like all the other ones. And it's doing very strange things to my body. And everybody is moving too fast. And the sun burns my skin. I remember I didn't even know what that was. I was like, turn that off, yo, turn that off. What is that? They were like, that's the sun, yo. And I couldn't dress up my outsides anymore. I always like, Ralph always says, what, employee by day, vampire by night, and then one day the vampire shows up. Oh, I identify with that. My dad stopped talking to me. My grandmother was disgusted with me. See, they told me, don't you forget your last run. Every time I think about that, I get sick to my stomach. So I went to see homeboy because I knew he would take me out. I ain't got the money and I ain't got the kilos. So for sure he was my answer. Finally, mommy would be happy, everybody would be happy, I would be happy. Finally, I'll be taken out. And I went to see him where he be hanging out, and I saw his boys. I said, tell him I'm here, and I ain't got nothing he wants. I'm ready. I'm waiting. And I don't want to forget that day. I sat there for 2 hours. Never came. I still feel that. That was horrible. I was just watching that door. I just needed him to come in and blast me. Just come in and blast me. He never came. They threw me out of there. And I ended up leaving there. It was on Queens Boulevard in New York. And I walked and I walked. I called the aimless walk. And I ended up in a church. Wasn't looking for it. And I stepped inside this church and I felt the presence. It was distinctly separate from me. And I said a prayer that I think is different than any other prayer. Here is where I believe we have the gift of desperation. And the window of the grace of God becomes visible and they collide with one another. And I said, God, please allow me to feel the peace that I feel in this church inside of me. I had no idea that prayer was going to change my life, y'all. I didn't even know what I was praying to. I left there, I went to my father's house. I asked for help. I'm amazed still with that. I never asked for help before. I ain't no punk. And I came to California because you have a tradition. It's called attraction rather than promotion. By now, my mother had 4 years, and my cousin had 4 years. My cousin had found my mother in Venice Beach eating out of garbage cans. My mother got sober. And whenever I used to go to California, every time I talk about mommy now, I get a little weird. I'm sorry. My mother picked me up from the Greyhound bus station. I detoxed on that bus. And my mother took me directly to the rooms. um, I got sober in South Central Los Angeles. I am so proud of the breed I come from. My mother knew exactly where to put me. She couldn't help me. And even this, when I say this, it sounds a little different for me today. You know, I was like, I asked my mother, where you going? Said, this is as far as I can go with you. Turned me over to the people who had saved her life, and she left. And I'm 3,000 miles from New York City. I don't have a name. I don't have an identity. I don't know how to breathe. I have no tools for living. I know nothing. I'm scared. I'm scared. Alcohol betrayed me, abandoned me, and left me emotionally retarded with no coping skills. And I don't know how to exist. I don't know what y'all gonna do. I don't even know what I'm looking for. And my mother left. And this is the foundation, and I share it often so I can always remember it. Because this is the cement that was kind of, my feet were cemented with this. It just is. It's like the anchor. And this was a woman named Marcy. Another little Puerto Rican woman like myself, who walked stern and hard and firm and sure. No, not apologetic. And she walked straight up to me. And she said, hey, baby girl, we've been praying for you. God don't make no junk, baby girl. You deserve to be here. You a child of God. I still hear her. She took her hands and she put it to my face. And she pulled me close to her. And she like looked inside of me. It still trips me out. You know, I don't think anybody ever looked at me. I don't believe anybody ever looked at me, ever. Remember, I'm a shadow. She saw me. And she looked in me, at me, very strange. And she said, there's a beautiful light inside of you, baby. And we just got a clean house for that light to shine. I still hear her. I find it fascinating that here is a total stranger who says something to me contrary to anything I had heard in 24 years of my life. Perhaps my dad and my grandmother said it, but it was muffled by all the other noise. But I believed Marcy. You would think I would reject the contrary information, but somehow I believed her. And I wanted to know what she saw in me. I can't tell you I was desperate for it. I wanted it. I needed it. I was looking for it. I didn't even know I was looking at. I didn't know I was a little girl just dying to be loved and to know that I exist. I didn't know that. But Marcy must have known it. And I say it as the anchor in the cement because that's been my journey for 34 years of tapping into what that was. I had to come here and learn, what is it normal? What is this illness? I have generations of my family who live this way. And what do you do differently? What do you do differently? How do you do it? Talk about being teachable. Perhaps I was at an advantage. I got no other point of reference. I'm a blank slate. We do that blank, we look at the blank page in the prayer, let go of everything I think I know about this disease. I don't know nothing. So I had nothing to let go. All I know is where I came from and ain't nothing happening, so what y'all doing? Follow the black on the white? Okay. And remember, I'm obedient. You see, I don't have issues with authority figure. Perhaps that was to my advantage. I'm an abusee. I follow directions. I'm not defiant. I'm not rebellious. What do you want me to do? What do you need me to do? I'm compliant. You want me to tap into a source of power? Where is it? Inside of me? How do I get there? Through the steps. Let's go. They just say, keep it simple, stupid. It ain't that deep. We were talking earlier at breakfast, and I do believe this and I stand by it. You guys gave me a purpose. I had no purpose when I came to you. I had no identity. I was nobody. I was nothing. And you told me your purpose is to stay sober and carry the message. All of a sudden, it has significance. From there stems all kinds of things. My sobriety is the most important thing to me. Nothing and nobody will get in the way of me and my recovery. I've been sharing this often. I've had a lot of things taken away from me without my permission. I was interested in the higher power that you guys found. The higher power you found, I hear people say, God does this without my permission, and maybe one day it'll change. That is not what I heard in the big book that I read. That was not what I heard from most of you. What I heard was the higher power that you found that was infinite, that creator, the Alpha, the Omega of all things, that had ultimate power to defeat the disease, to do get rid of fear, that this power needed your permission. I was impressed. I was impressed. You gave me back the power of choice. I never had the power of choice. I had no vote on nothing, and I had a vote. Where do I have a choice? In 3. That might not be nothing to you, but it was, I get to make a decision? Yes, ma'am, and without it, ain't nothing gonna happen. I have a thing called the will. Yep, it's yours. You were born with it. And it's running rapid. But only you can direct it, and you just need a mustard seed of willingness, and something can happen. I don't know, y'all. I've been excited about that. I want to know that power. And it's inside of me? What? Let's do this. I don't have to squander the hours anymore. I'm not going to give anybody permission to take stuff from me. I want to know that power. Recovery is mine. All I need is a desire. I'm a member because I say I am. You don't have to like me. I don't like you either. Who cares? I told them, any Puerto Ricans in the house? No. Move on. I want to know that. I've been on a journey for 34 years of uncovering, discovering, discarding. Every day making a decision to tap into that source of power that can do what? It says, we are undisciplined, so we let this power. We let it. If God did for me whatever it wanted to do for me, then why doesn't it just take away my fear? I have to ask him. You gave me the gift of awareness that I get to watch and look at these defects of character that stand in the way of what? Of my usefulness. Now I have a purpose in life. I can go out into the world. I can see, I can be. So that this power is extraordinary to me. What does it do? It restores me to sanity. It gives me a brain to use. I didn't have a brain to use. I was like a straw man. You know what I mean? Like no brain. What? I have a brain. I have a heart. Almost like the Wizard of Oz. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. It gives me intuition, this intuitive thought, inspiration. This is not a puppet master. Alcohol and cocaine was a puppet master. You guys cut the strings. This is a partnership. I'm no longer the CEO of THERESA Incorporated. I don't gotta be. I got the ultimate CEO. We confer. I have a business meeting in the morning, in between the day, at night. I'd be like, yo, can I talk to you for a minute? You know what I'm saying? That's what you've given me. As I said, a lot of things have been taken away from me. My virginity was taken away at 5 without my permission. My body was beaten. I've been burned with cigarettes. I've been stabbed. I've been shot. I've been pistol whipped without my permission, and nobody asked me. I've had people tell me they love me today. Oh my God, I love you so much. And then they can't stand me tomorrow. They didn't ask me if that was okay. I've had jobs. I've had companies that I've built, and they turn around and take it from me and say it's no longer yours. I didn't have a vote. I've had houses that I lived in and took care of, and they said, that's my house. I want it back. They didn't ask my permission. They just took it. I had a car that I liked driving, and somebody just smashed into it and ruined it and destroyed it and left and ran off. Nobody asked my permission about that. I had cancer, take away my uncle without my permission. I had cancer, take away my brother without my permission. I had Parkinson's, take away my daddy without my permission. I had Alzheimer's, take away my mom without my permission. When my brother died, I helped him raise these two boys. They're now 26 and 21. Oh, I was a great titi. And when my brother died, their mother showed up and said, those are my kids. Drop them off and get out of our life. I don't want to see you again. She didn't ask my permission. You see, I've experienced a lot of things without my permission. But there's something that I have that nobody could take away from me. And that's my recovery. That is mine. That's mine. It's mine. That's what sobriety means to me. That is mine. And every day I fight to preserve it, to nourish it, to polish it. I'm the one that gives it away. And I'm the one that could throw it away. And so I keep it, and then I share it. And it gives me meaning. It gives me significance. I can't figure out things in my life sometimes. It seems confusing and scary, and things are strange, and I can't make sense out of things. But I can work on my recovery. It somehow is solid for me. I can't figure out my bills. I don't know how I'm going to pay for anything. Just recently, right, without my permission, my partner after COVID is completely disabled, and then mommy dies, and most of my sponsees stay sober just to see me get through the day. I feel bad for them. A lot of them call, and they be like, oh, we can't beat whatever you got going on, whatever. Anyway, I think my time's about up. But they're like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. I learned to put one hand in God and one hand in this program. I've been the caregiver, caretaker to most of my perpetrators and my abusers. I find it hysterical when some people who have run havoc in their families' lives now don't want to give back and help them. I'll be like, ha, 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 that's funny. I take care of people who never did anything for me. And I give to them what they never gave to me. Why? That's the preservation of my sobriety. I don't know how not to give this program away. My phone rings like central office. I answer every call, all hours of the night. Sometimes I feel like Bill W. If you come to my house, I got a picture of Bill and Dr. Bob and Ann and Lois, and people come over here, that's Uncle Bill and that's Uncle Bob. And they be like, okay. Auntie Lois. Anyway, I want to say a couple of things. You know, I'm also grateful that the ripple effect that happens around here, that I think it's important for us to remember, and that is that it doesn't just end with me, and it's not even so much with the people that I work with. I talk to people all the time I don't even sponsor, but what you've done for my nephews. They're the new generation. They say things like, I love you and I'm uncomfortable. Can I talk to you for a minute? They call me and go, can I do a fear inventory? I met this girl. I did a sex inventory. I've been teaching them to do that since the moment they started thinking about girls. I'm like, you leave it up to me. You ain't having sex until you're 100. But we stay out of that controversy. I think they have the coolest titi in the world. I can kick your ass and pray for you. You did that. You gave them a shot. I get to be a demonstration on how I live, and I pass that on. And if they have friends that are in trouble, it's adorable. They call me like, Maddox told me to call you. I'm in the car. I heard your CD. Today, I'm a blank slate, y'all. I've been cleaning house a lot as a caregiver. Most of them have all died now. I'm a little sad that I didn't get to experience my family with after the healing. You know, I've been saying many of them died like poltergeists. I say it's like poltergeist. I don't know if y'all seen that movie, but in the end, you know, if even including mommy, they were like, this house is clean. And then they left. I was like, okay. So I've been like a blank slate. I've done a lot of inner work, a lot of healing. I don't know the journey that I'm embarking upon. But the one thing that I will always know is that I'm an alcoholic and that I have a sobriety that I cherish. And I treat this disease like a diabetic that needs insulin. So I'm looking forward to where the journey that I go as I continue to uncover, discover, and discard. I just been saying I've been feeling like I've been on a tsunami. I'm now on the shore. And I see all the rebel and all have died. And I put one hand in God and one hand in this program and begin to pick up the pieces and see where we're going. If you knew, I think one of the best things they taught me when I got here was to learn how to say, I don't know. I think the longer I stayed sober and the older I get, the less I know. So I tend to tell most folks that I talk to, don't hold me to everything I'm telling you today. Because next week I'll be like, you know what I told you last week? It no longer applies. I was like, it sounded deep, right? I know it was good. I don't know what I was talking about. But it was good last week. More and more is being revealed. So, oh man. So y'all guys, you have no idea the 12-step call you've done. You know, this higher power is absolutely extraordinary. I always say that it takes a girl like me, unloved, unwanted, unnecessary, and insignificant. It loves me so much. I'm so loved. And all I needed was a mustard seed of willingness. And then it picks me up, as it does all of us. Dusts us off and builds us up so I could come here and tell you, look what this higher power does. I just needed to surrender to it. Look, what? I'm going to keep coming back. It's been difficult this weekend, y'all. I've been a spoiled little brat. I've been angry and frustrated. Thank God we have 12 steps. I've been in my wants, you know. The first time, maybe ever since everybody, I'm like, I want to live. I want to have a dream board like everybody else. And I want to run on self-rule like I watch other people do. But that don't work. And so I'm learning to just take a breath. Be still. Let's just see what happens. I just hope it gets a little bit better. Because I've been through a lot. I'm going to say this real quick. I was talking about this with my sponsee the other night. She was like, I've been through some challenges this weekend, and we were talking about that, and sometimes my sponsor will do that. You know it's scary when you call your sponsor and I read an inventory, and afterwards now they need an inventory? So a lot of times when I call my sponsor, my grand sponsor, they be like, afterwards, they be like, they did what? You know what I mean? Again, what? You know, what is going on? I'm mad at God. I don't understand. You know what I mean? You never get a break. And I'm like, we're going backwards. I was feeling better. Now I'm all jacked up. Focus. But I was talking to her, and it was something that I need to remember. But she kept saying, why, God? Why, God? Why do you do this to her? She's one of your faithful servants, trusted servants. I'm asking God, why? Why does she suffer so? Why is her life so hard? Why? Why you do this? And I was like, I don't think that's God. I believe that's the disease. I believe that's negative energy that knows that I have tapped into such a source of power. Such a source that it wants me to fail. And it wants God to fail. And it's trying to deter me. Because she said that I know for sure that in the end, God be showing off and showing out and extraordinary things happen for you. And I was like, now that's God. Now that's God. What happens is, I try to get deterred. Famous men than me have been in the garden. I get deterred, I get distracted. Negative things come at me, so I can lose faith, so I can stop doing the work, so I can end up in the dope house or in the bar again. Because we do God's work well here. And then God prevails when I don't give in. When I turn to this work and I keep the faith and I put the trust and I clean house and I trust in God and be of service, and then God shows off and shows out. And I'm like, that's God. So if you knew, please tap into what we have here. And what I learned is I may not be able to tell you what to do. And you may not want what I have and you may not want what we have. But in the quietness of your own space tonight, you get to ask yourself if you want what you have. And that's a game changer. So if nobody told you they love you today, I really, really do. Again, I want to thank the God in you for allowing to discover the God in me so that I in return can do the same for others. Thank you so much for allowing me to share.